Welcome back, folks. It's been a little bit of time since the last time we spoke. I want to kind of close this year out with Bitcoin. As some of you know, I'm no longer on Twitter. You've probably seen videos where I've shown invitations to follow me on Twitter. I don't have a Twitter account anymore. I don't have Instagram anymore. The only thing I have is YouTube. But for those individuals that were following me, and I had just about 39,000 or so followers on my Twitter account, and I was commenting various times throughout the year on Bitcoin and crypto and such. And everyone knows what the entire world has been dealing with since the beginning of the year, or thereabouts in March time frame. The idea of crypto or Bitcoin specifically, I mentioned that everyone that was following me, that if Bitcoin or crypto was going to be what everyone had hoped it would be, now's the time for it to shine and show its colors. And that occurred right on schedule. So now there's been some commentary on my part that I have been very adversarial and kept at a distance when it comes to crypto. The fact that it has traded as it has here and offered levels of price runs that I like to see. I mean, this is, in my opinion, this is phenomenal trading. This is a market that, if it can maintain things like this, is very exciting for 2021. Now, it's important for some of you that are new that listen to me say what I'm about to say and say, okay, well, there's no real way of me backing up or verifying what Michael says here. And I'll just leave it up to you to decide whether or not it's something I really said or didn't say. But it's important that you use the community tab on my YouTube channel because it has replaced my Twitter account. So I don't want to be on Twitter. Twitter actually censored me a couple times and froze my account for talking about something that had nothing to do with anything that should have warranted that type of response by them. So I moved my entire show here to my YouTube channel. So if you go to the YouTube channel and you click on the community tab here, it'll give you posts. Now, I don't allow comments because I don't have any interest in anyone else's opinions, and that may sound myopic to some, but I already know I'm going to be polarizing, and I'm not offering a stage for people to advertise theirself. Okay, make a name for yourself, on your own steam. But I have, throughout this fall and month of December, really outlined this run here on Bitcoin. Now, my group that was following me on Twitter back in July knows that I was talking about it running from there. And then in my private group, the mentorship, we talked a little bit about it periodically. And again, I do not talk about crypto in mentorship. Okay, so I like to bring that up multiple times because I don't want anybody thinking I'm dangling a carrot here, because I'm learning crypto. Okay, so it's important that you understand my transparency here. I don't have any immediate interest in trading it. It just has now moved to a degree of more interest by me. Okay, whereas before I really wasn't interested at all, I'm interested in it now. So some of you may be laughing and saying, well, you missed the party, you missed the biggest bull market in the world, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's moved a lot of points, but there's big moves or mega trades every single year. And what you do with it is the most important thing. And while this may be a stunning price rally, I was pretty much involved in calling most of it, okay, here. And there's a backdrop behind this that some of you are probably not up to speed with. And if you recall, back in 2018, I was really calling Bitcoin lower, and then ultimately I said that I felt it would go to 100. And at the time I said it, I meant it. And I kind of went over this on my community tab, but without rehashing that, just know that when I said that, I meant it. And there was other supported reasons why I wanted to say it and publicly make it known, but I had no horse in the race. So it really is no skin off my back, and crypto has never really been my forte. I've never claimed to know how it works, and to be quite honest with you, I don't even know how to open up an account to trade this asset class. So that's how little I know about it. I just look at the candles and I share my opinion publicly whenever I feel inspired to do so. And there's been a few times I've been wrong, but by far and large, with the exception of me obviously being facetious and meaning it still at the same time, calling Bitcoin at 100, it's been pretty interesting to see. My public calls have been good, but in full transparency, if I look at it like I did Forex for over the number of years I've been focusing primarily on it since 2006, I've been trading markets since 1992, but focused primarily on Forex in 2006. But I have not really had a vested interest in crypto, only because of my students. They have an interest of constantly pinging me for my opinion about what I think it's going to do. And as I mentioned on Twitter at the time when I had an account, I said, if it ever does stage a run to 20,000, I will let you know. And I made this public knowledge, and I didn't hide it in some secret membership. I put it out there, and there it is. But I kind of want to talk a little bit about why I felt it was going to go up and trade where it's at now, and tell you where I think it might go to, and also talk about why I don't think anybody really knows what's going to happen. So it's a little bit of a sobering message to this, but also just sharing what I think I see here in the chart. It's important to understand before I go into it that I do not have an account trading crypto. I do not have any interest in pumping it or inspiring it to go lower. Okay, so I have an indifference here. It doesn't make a difference to me if it goes higher or if it goes lower. I'm just commenting on as objectively as I possibly can and sharing that view or opinion with you here. It's not meant to be investment advice. It's not meant to inspire you to buy it or go short. It's just that I've been asked multiple times, because we had this big price run here, and some of my students that are following me from afar have seen this move and have not been aware of the community tab on my YouTube channel. So everything's there. It's dated. You can see the comments I've had about it. So let's talk a little bit about what I saw this year and what led to this price run. All right, so back in the beginning of the year, we had this. I'm not going to say the word because it's going to flag my video, and I don't want to have any issues with that. But you all know what this is referring to. And the market tanked like everything else here. But at the time, this is when, if crypto was going to be the great alternative to fiat, then this should be a time at which it will really start to show its true colors, if that's in fact what it is. Now, do I believe that Bitcoin will be the benchmark forever in crypto if we're to assume that it eventually does replace fiat? I'm not here to say it will. I'm just making the argument here that if fiat is completely done away with and everything goes to a digital currency, I do not believe that Bitcoin will be the standard. Okay, I think it will be replaced by something else, and I'm not astute enough to know what that is. Okay, so I'm kind of like being as honest as I possibly can. I just believe in my heart that this is just the beginning of something. Okay, and they may adopt something else entirely, but still be crypto, and there it is. But whatever that thing is that replaces Bitcoin will do what you see here in Bitcoin faster than what we saw here. So I think it was in 2012, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's about when I was being asked. I had an interview with a group of traders that were really, really interested in Bitcoin back then. And it was trading under $1,000. It was like a couple $100, for a Bitcoin. And I didn't have any interest back then either. And I said, I'm not interested in it. I'll have to see what it does. And the idea of this asset class replacing fiat has been argued since the inception of, the crypto markets. I think that there will be another coin or something to that effect that will become more favored than this one. Will it mean that this goes away entirely? I don't know. Does it mean that there won't be other currencies, like we have different countries, then they have their own individual currency? Will they have their own individual cryptocurrency? I kind of think that's what's happening initially before all fiat goes away. I think every country is eventually going to want to do that. There's been obviously talks about the digital dollar. I'm not afraid of that. I don't think that's any real concern. And ultimately, if I'm wrong and say fiat just completely disappears overnight, because 2020 has been relentless with doing plot twists throughout the year, the idea of fiat going away immediately, and maybe that impacts Forex. The big question is, is it over for Forex? No, I don't believe that's the case. I think if fiat's done away with, then we'll still apply the same things which we do with Forex in comparing and contrasting and looking for leaders and laggards in terms of relative strength and which currency has the most interest. And I think the effects of interest rates and differentials will still have an impact there. It just won't be done in the capacity of a fiat currency. It'll be done in a crypto. Now, that's my assumptions, and I may absolutely be incorrect. And maybe there's a lot of you out there that know more about this than I do, and you're shaking your head saying, this guy's a noob, he has no idea. I've already admitted every time I talk about this asset class, I preface it by saying that, because I don't want to sound like, and I hope you can see the difference here, okay? I am admittedly uncomfortable talking about this crypto space, okay? That's why it sounds like arrogance when I'm talking about Forex or futures, because I'm comfortable there and I know what I'm talking about. Here, I'm just sharing my feelings, my opinions, my thoughts, my concerns about it, and admitting that there's absolutely no harm to me if I'm wrong or right, because I'm not invested in it at all. But I'm fascinated to see the things that I'm going to cover here still showing its hand in the delivery of price here. But I want you to also remember that there's absolutely no one out there knows where Bitcoin's ultimately going to go. We are clearly in all-time highs. In any market that trades at an all-time high, there's absolutely no way to determine with any great accuracy or a surety that you know where it's going to go to. So while I'm going to show you what I believe led to me calling the levels that I called and shared with my students, and also I shared some levels with the YouTube community tab, I'm going to go over some of that and tell you why I believed it was going to happen, and then you can see whether there was any validity to it. I promise you there is no secret sauce stuff that I'm not sharing here, because I don't have anything that I want to plug in to crypto at this moment, and I don't have any confidence in it. So I just look at pure price delivery and order block theory. I mean, it's all I'm looking at here. So with that, just know that this was the precursor to seeing all this price run up. It was maximum pessimism and fear, which is where something that is underlyingly strong, and this is something, if you're taking notes, you should be, the idea of a market that is predisposed to go up, okay? A market that's primarily bullish, if there's ever a sharp decline, okay, or a rapid run to lower prices, many times, if you're zoomed in really tight and you're only looking at about 2 weeks worth of data, this is going to look horrific. But when you zoom out a little bit, it gives you a better, I guess, perspective on how much of an impact that really had. But at the time watching it and all the uncertainty that was coming out around March of the year, everybody was taking guesses about what was going on, and nobody really wanted to be a participant of any market. That maximum fear in a market that is predisposed to go up, it's underlyingly bullish, if it's really just primed to go higher, any market like that, in those instances, offer these types of climax reversals, okay, where it just looks like it's going down and forever go down, but it turns on a dime and starts to go the other way. In July, I felt that we had that effect here. We had a reversal of sorts, and if it was going to go higher, if crypto was going to be the answer to fiat, the market should start pricing higher. And it was consolidated for a little bit. We had this little bit of a run here. We came back down, rebalanced, and ran out some relative equal lows in here. You can look at this on your own charts. I just want to get through this because it's already kind of too long. But we have an optimal trade entry here and running on sell side liquidity there. And you can see some old support and resistance ideas if you like that kind of thing, but I don't. But we had a run here, and then we had price drop back down into another optimal trade entry there. And I want to kind of zoom in on that. All right, so we have this run and decline. These two down closed candles as your order block. Okay, so you can see how the market ran up and broke down. The 20,000 is where everybody was looking for it to go to. And 2017, I said that we were going to go from 6,500 to 10, and then from 10 to 20. This was all during my time on Twitter. There's a lot of people that screen capture all this stuff. Do I have access to it now? No, I don't care. Okay, but there was many of you out there that know I said this. Then I also said, this is the story behind it real briefly. My wife asked me the day before Bitcoin made its high. She asked me, have you bought any Bitcoin? And I said, what did you just say to me? And my wife was sitting next to me on the couch, and she says, did you buy Bitcoin? It's going up. And I said, hold that thought right there. And I immediately went to Twitter and I said, okay, my original idea was that Bitcoin was going to go to 20,000, but I'm telling you right now, it's not going to go to 20,000. And here's the reasons why. My wife said I should be buying Bitcoin. Now, this is not, ladies, please don't be mad. I'm not making fun of my wife. I love my wife. But if my wife is telling me to be buying Bitcoin, she's the last person that would know to be buying Bitcoin. So if she's telling me it's a good buy, that means everybody thinks the same thing. So therefore, it's not going to 20,000. So that's the reason why I went on the Twitter immediately and said, okay, it's not going to 20,000. And I looked at the chart and I said, it's going to go basically to 6,000. And everybody laughed me off the internet. It is what it is. It went down to 6,000. Then I called 3,000 and went down to like 34 something ish. I don't know exactly what it was, but it didn't go down to 3,000. I was wrong there. And at that point, I really didn't know what it was going to do. And everybody was hammering me because I called the top in Bitcoin, and I called the slide to 6,000, and I called the slide almost to 3,000. And everybody was waiting for that 3,000 still. And I said, you know what? I don't know what's going to happen, but I can't handle everybody coming at me with crypto because I'm a Forex guy. Okay. I'm a futures guy. I'm a limited market type person. I have obsessive compulsive disorder, and it's very easy for me to be distracted. So I did what I did. I said, here's this. I think ultimately Bitcoin's going to crash and go to 100. And I put it out there. And it obviously turned a lot of people off, made enemies out of some of my followers with me. Oh, you're a FUD or whatever that is you guys talk about. In other words, the negative side of it. So it worked though. It got everybody off my back about crypto, and it allowed me to focus on the markets that I focus on. So that's why this is labeled as the milestone, because it never really got to 20,000. So 20,000 was that benchmark it needed to reach to and through. And we just got to it very close on the 1st of December. Off of this optimal trade entry here, and then it consolidated and dropped down. This in itself is an optimal trade entry. But before I go into this one, I'm going to show you the structure on this that leads to some of the targets. So the low here to this high, okay? Now I'm using the wicks and the tails. Now most of the time you see me doing exercises where I'll draw the fib on the bodies of the candles because that's the bulk of the volume. If I'm looking for targets and I really want to consider the entire range that could be available, I'm going to use this, the lowest tail and the highest wick. Why am I doing it here and not using the bodies? Because we're trading or expected to trade to all-time highs. So I want to incorporate the maximum amount of range that could be available to me if I'm going to be utilizing the fib for target selection. Now, by itself, the fib at this point is the only thing I can lean on for targeting. And this is the reason why I said in the beginning of the video, nobody has any idea where Bitcoin's going to go. Okay, I like to think that it's going to go to 30,000 because it's a nice round number. It's a reward for everybody that's held on this long. It'll really get everybody interested in it. Everybody wanted to see it get to 20, but how does it trade above 20? And I said, if it does go above 20, it needs to do what we see here. Just run, go, go. Okay. My concern is, this is one of the things I'm wondering if it's going to happen or not. If I was trading it, if I was in this, if I had money in this market, which I do not trade crypto, I don't have live money in this asset class, I would want to see it trade to 30. If it got to 30, I would probably unload about 85% of whatever I held and then wait and see what happens with a stop below here. On the community tab, I gave you some levels and I said, I don't know what it's going to do, but I feel that as long as we stayed above 17.8, which would be essentially, here's the low here at 117.569. I don't think that it needed to go back below 17.8, which would be potentially running below this low. If it did that, then that's, for me, problematic. That would be breaking down in market structure, whereas everything here has been bullish. So some of the targets I was looking at was from this low to this high, and it trades back down into optimal trade entry, which is what I teach on this channel. It's kind of like the flagship pattern. And then we have multiple levels that it hit here, 28.9, 27 level, 27 and 39, 25 was no problem whatsoever. But I liked these up here and then targeting the 30,000. Back to my concerns. Will 30,000 act like 20 did in 2017 and just fall short of it and create a issue where we have to come back down below 20,000? I think ultimately if it were to do that, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not what you probably want to hear, especially if you're long or if you've been buying in here or up here. If you're buying up there, I would be nervous. I wouldn't chase it like that. That's just me. I wouldn't do it. But if it were to fail to get to 30 and trade back down below 20, I would like to see it pick up some buying at this area right in here. Okay, so it can go back below 20 a little bit, but I don't think it needs to come back down below here. I think everybody's stop is here. So if it did come back down, it could retest this old high, but I would like to see it go through it a little bit and focus on this candle right there. Now, again, that's just an expectation if it were to fail to get to 30. I personally think they're going to push it to 30 before we turn to 2021. And I wouldn't be surprised if they really ram it up there through 30, by 5,000 or 6,000 more points beyond that. So like 35, 36,000. I think 38, and let's see if we have a level here. No, we don't have it on this one, but you'll see it most likely on here. The next optimal trade entry is this. And whenever you're trading at all-time highs, this is kind of like the process. It just keeps becoming a guessing game because you don't know. Nobody knows what this market's going to do. They don't know where it's going to go. Obviously, some of you are shaking your head saying, it's going to 100,000 ICT. It's going to 1 million ICT. It's going to 50,000 ICT. Everybody has their target, And while I could just call out levels and say, this is what I think, this is what I believe, there's really nothing that I can say this is the reason why except for a fib here. And I don't trade with just a fib. It may look like that to some when they watch me do things in my videos, but I promise you that fib is only giving me one small little piece. And that's where we're at with this. And regardless if you want to agree with my analysis here or if my opinion or my thoughts about it, you have nothing, zero, nothing except for hope and expectation that it's going to go to your specific target. Just like I had hope and expectation just to see if I was, out of morbid curiosity, if I was going to be correct if it ran above 20,000 before Christmas. It did. Did it trade to the levels I put on my community tab? Yes, it did. Is it skill? No, there was no skill there. It was just me looking at how it could potentially expand up into those levels and maybe even go way beyond that. But no one can really say with any absolute evidence to support their idea where it's going to go on evaluation. Like, you can't look over here on this axis of the chart and say, this is where Bitcoin's going to go because of this, and this. Whereas if we have traded to an old level before, it's easy to look at things and rationalize it with the technicals to justify and present that argument. Whereas right now, everybody has their own opinion about this market and where they think it's going to go, and no one has any way to quantify that. You just can't do it. So let's take a look at a weekly chart and close this video because it's too long as it is. All right, so let's go back out to a higher time frame chart and we'll look at this leg here. So if we use the lowest low here up to this right there. All right, I'm going to crunch this up a little bit. So from this low to this high, we trace back down. Yes, we overshot a little bit, but again, I already stated multiple times, I'm not just a fib guy. Fibs are just a tool I like to use to provide more confluence around the level that I would already be looking for anyway. And if a fib overlaps with it, then great. If it doesn't, whatever. But I've looked at some of these levels here, and let's just say we get some crazy blow-off move that goes above 30. There you go. That's the level I would look for if we get 30 and run through. And then after there, I don't know. I don't know. Could you do this? Could you go back to something like this low here? And why am I picking this low? Because this is the most dynamic one out of all this price action. Now that I think about it, as I'm looking at this chart, I think it was, when was it? I think it was 2014, yeah. I mentioned earlier 2012. It was 2014. I think those fellows that were initially interviewing me, asking me what my opinion was about Bitcoin. And I may have that date wrong still, but I just, for the sake of discussion, I wish I could remember who it was. But anyway, I I maintained the opinion about crypto and Bitcoin the same up until right now, at this moment here. So am I saying I'm going to start trading Bitcoin? No, I'm just saying I'm interested in it. I'm going to start following it. And if it can continuously give me what I'm looking for and the things I see in Forex, then I'll probably start trading it. But right now, I have an official interest in it. But you can see here using this optimal trade entry here. These are some levels also that could lend well to upside should we get some kind of crazy, explosive, wild run like in the 1970s commodity markets. So I don't know. Okay, I want to kind of like end it with that. I don't know where it's going to go. I personally just want to see it trade to 30. Okay, if it goes to 30,000, I'm content. And in my mind, the paper trade that I would have assumed in here, would have gained to the degree that I would have liked to participate in, and then I would move myself to the sidelines and then leave a small portion on to see if it can run into something like this, or kind of like do that. I think it's hodler. Everybody says like hold on for dear life. Again, I'm showing my neophyte stance in all this, but I'm being as honest as I possibly can, because there are very sincere people that have been with me for a number of years. They already understand I don't trade it. They already understand that I have a willingness to try to distance myself from it, but they have sincerely asked if I would make my views on it public, and this is what I got for right now. And it may be nonsense to some of you. It may be absolutely a waste of your time, and for that I apologize. But I'm making the video for those individuals that are interested in this from my perspective, and I just hope it doesn't entice anyone to do something that would either remove potential profitability or put them in a losing trade. And I try to carry myself with that every time I talk about the markets as a whole, but I know everybody's excited about this one right now because this is where all the money's pouring. Like that's why I talked about it publicly. Every time I do a public call, like that's kind of like where it's at. Like I don't have a secret society where I'm doing calls or signals. If I put it out there, that's where I'm going to be weighed in the balance, and I leave it there. Any trade examples I share has always been a public display, so that way you can see it, and either I sink or swim. This particular move in Bitcoin, I believe, is inspiring for me as a dinosaur. Like I said, I started trading in 1982, so I'm not familiar with these specific markets, but I am familiar with how price delivers. And most of the things that I have been anticipating have happened since basically July, August of this year. So I'm seeing things that I've been telling everybody, if I start seeing it, then I'll have a better read on it, and then I'll feel more comfortable telling you what I think is going to happen. But prior to that, I wasn't seeing it. Now, what do I mean by that? I think there's a lot more institutional involvement now than there ever has been, ever. And PayPal, which I have a partnership with because they do all my payment processing for my mentorship, they came out and said that they're going to now start taking Bitcoin. That's a huge, milestone for crypto. So at some point, and this was one of the arguments I had when I was first introduced to the idea of my opinion being shared about the asset class, I couldn't go to, and I still can't really, I couldn't go to a gas station and buy gas with my Bitcoin. That's starting to change now. I mean, there's places that are taking it. There's apps that you can use. Obviously, like PayPal is now. But it seems like it's speeding up. So that transition, or movement to a more open access to it is obviously making itself known. But admittedly, it wasn't like that prior to 2020. Okay, and we'll just say post-pandemic. Okay, I'm saying that with my fingers quotations. Post-pandemic, it was not as obvious anytime prior to it is right now. And I can see things in price that I was not able to see prior to mid part of this year. And I believe it's because there's a lot of institutional sponsorship that are taking action, and clearly you can see it. There's a lot of movement in this market. So all this has done is drawn more interest in it, and obviously now my interest is peaked on it. It doesn't mean I'm going out in 2021 and opening up an account as of yet. I don't have that in my mind yet, but I will be looking at this market on a day-by-day basis going forward. I'm treating it like a market that I watch with Forex. Okay, so I watch the E-mini S&P, I watch gold, I watch crude oil, and I watch Forex. Okay, and that's about. And I watch some commodity markets like soybeans. I've been mentioning that. But I focus on markets that have big moves. Okay, and if you've been following me at any length of time, one of the things that I like to illustrate and show is my ability to use the tools that I teach, not only in this YouTube channel, but in my private group, where it ferrets out these big moves. Now, there's a lot of people out there that have signal services and they're trying to get people to subscribe to them and all that. And they say, I'm bringing you the proof. I'm showing you the proof. I'm not showing you a fuzzy little screen. You can't see anything about it and claiming 95%. I live 95%. Okay, I put my name out there all the time. This is what it is. This is what I think is going to happen. And if I fail miserably. Or if I'm consistent, then I'm consistent. So I want big moves. I'm not looking at, for instance, like a move that may be found in a market like this. This used to be one of my favorite markets, the bond market. And, this market's dead. This market's dead. Now you contrast that with a market move that I made public here. And it's tens of thousands of points of movement. You can't compare. Like there's no comparison. Also, the other market that I felt was a big mover for this year, and I'm on record with it as well, is soybeans. And that kind of looks a little bit like Bitcoin, doesn't it? Big run up. This market is basically what I like to talk about as a mega trade. Mega trade is like an idea I picked up from Larry Williams. Now, the way he finds his mega trades is not entirely how I do it. There's a lot of things that I do right from his How I Made $1 Million Trading Commodities Last Year book, which is absolutely essential reading for everybody that's a trader, because that part of the book is still applicable today. Those elements to how the soybean market traded here, if you read Larry Williams' book, How I Made $1 Million Trading Commodities Last Year, that 1970s book would have put you right in this market here. And you wouldn't have had to watch any ICT videos. You wouldn't have had to watch anybody else jawbone about the markets. You wouldn't have to subscribe to any services. His book would have put you in that trade. Okay. What does this trade look like? Well, from $8.40 to $9.40, that's $5,000 in price movement for one contract. To $10.40, that's $10,000. To $11.40, it's $15,000. To $12.40, it's $20,000. And we're probably going to go to $13.40, so that'll be $25,000. If we're comparing apples to oranges here, Bitcoin versus soybeans, there's not a big move happening, and you can clearly admit this. There hasn't been these big moves every year in Bitcoin, but there's always a big move in the commodity market. Every year there's one, every single year. So this was a mega trade, okay, that I like to find these types of moves. Most of my cynics like to think that I'm just a 20 pip trader here and I'm only intraday this. That's where I excel because I'm a very short-term thinker and I can change my opinion very quickly. So it fits my personality. Plus it provides a way of teaching and it gives my students a plethora of examples to work with. Whereas if you look at something like this where it takes a half a year to unfold, yes, I outline all this stuff, but it takes a long time And it's very boring to watch this. If you're not familiar with what you're looking for or watching, you're going to lose interest in this whole thing. But it's the same element of knowing what price is likely to do, but not absolutely going to do. Okay. And having these big moves each year, that's my primary focus. And I go through all the markets and I try to find where these big moves potentially will occur. And in Bitcoin, because of everything that happened this year with the quote unquote illness, that was one of the primary reasons why I said, okay, if I take a step back and look at how everything around the world is kind of like coming to a halt, the economies are basically being attacked. And if that's the case, then this market should start seeing a rapid increase. And it creates the low. It was quietly staying in consolidation. Another area here where it's consolidated. And then finally, it was just like they got to keep it going and then rally down higher. So in short and in closing, I would like to see it trade to 30,000. Will it? I don't know. But I would not be surprised if it does not correct and trade back down below 20 to make everybody feel uneasy about holding on to it, like this was the blow-off move. While this is exceptional price action, I don't think this is it. Like, if Bitcoin was going to climax reverse on a run higher, I don't see this as capitulation yet, if that makes any sense to you. Like, I feel like this is just part of it, and then we'll see like this big, huge, maybe one or two big, long candles, maybe with a 5,000 or a 6,000 point candle. Then, I would feel like, okay, we're getting nuts now. Everybody's dogpiling in on this. If we see a day like that or a daily range that does something like that, and it doesn't necessarily have to be 5,000 or 6,000 points, but it's something that's so grandiose compared to everything else in the past. Basically, you'll know it when you see it. I think that's the day that you should be rapidly trailing your stop loss up using an hourly chart intraday and kind of like locking in any unrealized profits that had been accumulated at that point. But right now, it's kind of like Larry Williams said this beautifully in his 4VHS tape course. The Futures Millionaires Confidential Trading Course. It's 4 cassette tapes, or VHS tapes rather, and it was produced in 1995. And mine were watched so many times they no longer worked, so I don't have access to that anymore. But nonetheless, he made a comment in there, and I still think about it all the time when I think about like mega moves, like these big mega trade type, big blow off moves. He mentioned it about commercial bull markets, and I'll leave that for your study if you buy the book, How I Made $1 Million Trading Commodities Last Year. It's just a wonderful book. It's a simple book. It's not highly technical. I don't subscribe to everything in there, but the things that he talks about having $1 million setups, they work, folks. Okay, so if you're looking for a book to buy, okay, maybe you have some money that you got in your stocking from Santa. Spend a little bit of money, support that guy, okay, because he's put out a lot of good stuff. I don't subscribe to everything, okay, but that book is absolutely gold. And it was written in the 1970s, and it's still true today. But he made a comment about these big commercial bull markets that take off and really run up crazy. Nobody knows where they're going to go, okay? And as I was talking to you in this video, I'm speaking and thinking about his voice in my head back in 1995 when I heard him in his course say those very words. Nobody knows where it's going to go when you have these big mega moves. And I have racked my brains for almost 30 years trying to solve that puzzle. And I'm here to tell you, I gave up on it because there really is no way. But you want to do this. And this is his words too. You want to wrap your arms around it, close your eyes, and just hold on for dear life. Okay? Come hell or high water, and see where you end up 6 months later. Because they can go so much farther than you want them or expect them to go. And I'm kind of like paraphrasing. But when I watched him say that the first time, I was grinning because I'm thinking to myself, man, that's amazing. Like, I want to be in moves like that. Well, I think Bitcoin has some of that still in it. So while this is great, I don't think this is the end of it. Okay. Do we need to correct? Maybe. I would personally like to see it not do it. I would like to see it say, we spent too much time below 20,000. We don't need to be down here anymore. That's kind of like my view on it. If Bitcoin or crypto is exactly what everybody believes it is, it's going to be this juggernaut that no one's going to be able to stop. And I'm not trying to be facetious. I'm not trying to make fun. I'm not trying to be sarcastic here. I'm saying if that's really what this is, then this market should say, I don't need to go back down to 20. I'm going to flex and push myself to 50. That's the way I interpret it. Does it need to go back down to 20? It could, but if it does, I don't think it breaks it. You know what I mean? Like, I think it needs to go back down here, and that would serve two purposes. Number one, it would upset anyone that has a trailed stop loss below this swing low. And if it goes below 20,000, it would upset those individuals that just want to see this old resistance, quote unquote, be acting as support. I think it can come back down a little bit deeper and scare everybody out of the idea of, okay, maybe it's going to crash and then tear off higher again and do what we saw here faster. Okay, that's what I would expect from this market if it were to retrace and come back down. If we lose this low here, then we're probably going to keep whatever high forms between that high, being there and retracing lower to this low here. Then we'll have to work out some, price action speed bumps at that time, meaning that it could consolidate, maybe trade a little bit lower, or basically hands off, don't touch it for a little while. And that is honestly the only thing that I see in price, and it probably did not help any of you, and probably it confused some of you, or it probably made you doubt some of the things you've already subscribed to, which is the reason why I hate doing these kind of videos. It's not because I'm afraid to be right or wrong, because I already give you what I think is going to happen, like in my community tab. But I like to think that if I can just inspire everyone in here to just remember, no one knows how far this thing can go up. I don't think there's a limit on where it could go that could be justified in anyone's eyes. Like, nobody can come on YouTube or go on the TV and say, this is where Bitcoin's going to go because of this. It's impossible. That part is impossible, which is an exciting thing for people that are trading this market, because that means you have tremendous opportunity. Now, obviously, there's always risk. I'm not trying to sweet talk you into thinking this is the this is the be all end all. Everybody should be doing this, but it's exciting for me now because, like I said, I've not been interested in this, but around the summertime, it started giving me clues that, hey, look, you need to be paying attention to what this is doing. And I was kind of like talking up to my students. I said, look, it's going to have to show its colors right now. If it's going to do it, it's going to do it now. If it doesn't, here's the big thing, and I'm closing. If Bitcoin didn't do this year, I would have been on YouTube trashing it, literally saying it's not going to do what you want it to do. Pretty much what I said about XRP. Okay. I know this is a Bitcoin video, but I just want to put this up here. I called the high in this market too on Twitter. All right, so here's the XRP market. This is the weekly chart. I called this up in here as well. I called some run up into it, and then I said it's done. It's dead money, and it's been dead money since then. I know there's a lot of people out there that send me emails all the time, and please don't send me emails, folks. If I see anything about XRP or Ripple, I don't even read it. Okay, and I don't mean to be ignorant. I just have very little time, and when I get to the emails in the order I receive them, if it has anything to do with this market here, I just completely send it to the bin. I don't look at it. I don't read it. Yes, we had this little bit of a run up in here, but there's nothing in this. This is literally penny stocks. Okay, it's performing like penny stocks. it would need to do something at a later time, because as of right now, it's dead money. Now, if you remember and look at how Bitcoin started, it did a lot of this kind of stuff. I mean, I don't think it was this cheap, but it did some squirrely looking things in the beginning. Okay. And maybe down the road, 5-10 years from now, maybe it will be less time if it's going to do it. I don't know, folks. Okay. But I'm just giving you my opinion, and it means absolutely nothing. Okay. I don't have any vested interest in this. I'm just saying, every time I've talked about this one here, and then some of you are saying, shut up, ICT, you're killing it. If you think I'm talking this market down and making it go down, you don't believe what you believe about it, because it doesn't make a difference what I say about it. I'm not even trading it. So it's just me sharing what I see in the price action. This is all classic penny stock activity. It's a pump and dump. Okay. You're not seeing that with Bitcoin. And that was what I meant when I said XRP is dead money. So if you're going to be doing anything crypto, at least be in Bitcoin if you're going to do it at all, because that's where everything's being poured into. It's going there. Now, there may be other coins and other things that they're starting to work in. Maybe some of you are more savvy in regards to noticing what they are. God bless you. But I'm only sticking to the things that I know very little about, because everything else is next to nothing. But Bitcoin's price action has this year shown me things that I have not been able to see consistently until 2020. And it wasn't until, again, post-pandemic. So I hope you have at least considered the likelihood of this maybe going a little bit higher than what we're showing here. I don't want to talk anybody out of a position, because it would just be terrible for you to send me an email and say, ICT, you scared the living daylights out of me, and I took everything off at this price level, and it goes to 100,000. I would be terribly upset about that. So don't take anything I'm saying here as investment advice. If you have a trade idea and you think it's going to go to whatever level it is, you know what? Follow it, stick to it, because I'm probably wrong. If you looked at every time that I was trading on paper, not with live funds, these crypto markets, when I was trying to do it on a day-by-day basis, like, it was horrendous. It was so bad. Like, it was shameful. Like, and that's why I said, like, I don't have any mojo with this. Like, I don't. When I feel like I have it, I make it public knowledge. But that's it. It's not a lot, but they tend to be the bigger price swings. This year, I've seen more, using a 4-hour on a daily chart, setups that I have not been able to see prior to midpoint of this year. So for everyone that has followed me for a length of time, and I've always said this, I don't see the same signatures in price that I see in Forex. I'm starting to see them. Now, when I say that, it doesn't mean I see everything that I see in Forex that makes it so precise. I'm seeing a lot more of it now. And that means that the boys, they're in this now. They're really starting to pour into it. So if they're going to be involved in this, and if I'm accurate in my observations, then this asset class is going to get really, really exciting. Which kind of makes sense, because if you look at Forex is kind of quiet right now. Even though it's going where we want it to go, it's slow and lethargic. And you can't compare, with 20,000 points, 20,000 points versus, I'm looking at like 50 to 75 pips a week if I'm trading Forex. Not because that's all I can make, but that's kind of like, it's easy for me to do. It's easy for me to find, and it gives me a lot of free time. I've never seen a market that can offer swings like that, like 20,000 points, and calling it and seeing, this is where it's going to go. Like, this could be a really amazing turn of events for traders. And some of you probably, we've been doing this for all this time, Michael, where you been? We've been trying to tell you. Yeah, I get it. But there's the things that I'm looking for that I've been very apprehensive about participating in, because they're not there until now. And I'm hoping to see more of the things I look for in Forex happen in this asset class, because if it does, I'm coming to dominate this one just like I did Forex. Until I talk to you next time, Happy New Year, be safe, and I'll talk to you again in 2021.